In this part of the tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use a free online tool to determine the word frequency of a text that you're analyzing. Word frequency is the number of times a word or phrase appears in your text. In this case, the text we'll be looking at is the compiled interviews from our Louisiana Civil Rights Movement oral history collection. Word frequency is interesting data to analyze because it can provide an overview of the topics and themes that appear in a text or a set of texts. You should have already either downloaded the text files of our oral history transcripts or worked through the previous tutorial to compile them yourself. The first thing you'll need to do is navigate to databasic.io. This is the suite of tools we'll be using. Specifically, we'll be using this tool, WordCounter. So if we click on this WordCounter tile, it'll take us to that tool. Databasic tools are designed to be student-friendly, so they provide a list of sample texts you can use to sort of explore what word frequency is, but we will be uploading our own file. So I'm navigating over to the Upload a File tab and clicking Upload a File. And I'm in my interview text files folder, and I'm going to grab my all interviews text file and open it and click count. So WordCounter at the top here is providing us a word cloud in which the words that appear most frequently in our transcript are larger. But I think these lists at the bottom are more helpful. So we have on the left our list of top words and the number of times they appear across our interviews. We also have a list of our top bigrams, so that's pairs of words and the number of times they appear. And then we have a list of our trigrams, so sets of 3 words and how many times they appear. But we'll be looking at our single words. You'll notice that our top words include LSU, special, copyright, Williams. All of these are words that have to do with who created the transcripts, where they live. These words have nothing to do with the content of what the interviewees were actually saying. It doesn't reveal anything about their story or their histories. So these words are not particularly meaningful data for us. WordCounter already strips out some words that would not be meaningful or interesting to see. Those words are called stop words, and they include words like and, is, but, then, than. But stop words doesn't know that in our transcripts, we might also want to strip out words like LSU and copyright, words that appear on every page of the transcript and therefore are very frequent, but that have nothing to do with the content of the interviews. So we need to strip out those words ourselves. So what we're going to do is go back to our all interviews file, and I'm going to duplicate this so that I preserve the original. And I'm going to call this duplicate all interviews stop words, because we're going to strip out additional stop words. And the way we will do this is by using our find and replace function, which is normally under your edit tab. I'm going to use my word frequency list and choose the words that I don't want to see in that list, such as LSU. So we see we have 405 instances of LSU, which matches the frequency that WordCounter gave us, and replace it with nothing. So that's basically just taking all of LSU out, not replacing it with anything, just deleting it. Okay, so now there's 0 instances of LSU. I would strip out copyright. Once I'm confident that I have stripped out all of the words that I don't want to see, I will return to WordCounter. And this time I'll show you a different way to insert text for analysis, which is simply by pasting it into this text box under the tab Paste Text. So I will go back to my document that has the appropriate stop words taken out, my cleaned up data. I will simply paste that text into this text box and hit count again. Now we see a word cloud that does not include words like LSU, special, copyright, but words that actually have meaning to the interviews themselves. So we see school, people, no, said, black, white. This is a more meaningful set of data that you can then use to analyze either on your own as a researcher or along with students. One activity I've done with students in interpreting and analyzing word frequency is to have them label their word frequency list by part of speech. So then they have their word frequency list divided into nouns, verbs, adjectives, etc. And you can kind of more clearly see a narrative developing about who is active in the stories of these interviews, what people are doing, how people and things are described. So here we might see a story about community members, people, teachers, children, what these community members know, what they can say, where they can go, and when, based around ideas of blackness and whiteness, the work they can do and the rights they have. So it's just an example of the type of interpretation that you might do with a word frequency list. In addition to the critical thinking work involved in interpreting data like this, the tedious process of cleaning up the data, stripping out the stop words, is also an important part of teaching students the way in which data is created, in giving students the power to decide what's meaningful to them, to decide which data they want to include and exclude. So both sides of that, the technical process of cleaning up, which also involves some critical thinking, and then the interpretation that happens afterwards, are meaningful parts of this learning process. All right, well, I hope you find this tool helpful, especially in digging into our collections as data in new ways.